Hey guys, this is just a quick video to sort of round up everything that has been announced for SmackDown Shut Your Mouth's WWF version 2. As you guys know, for the past 8 or so months on Patreon, there have been Patreon posts every couple of weeks or a month or so, just detailing new things that are coming in the next version. For newer people though, I think it's probably quite hard to sort of go all the way back and look at everything and keep track of everything. So I figured, here's everything so far that is coming in version 2, and then maybe we'll talk about a few extra things that I'm only just starting to add now, such as new weapons. This will cover everything, say from when I announced everyone on the roster was playable and draftable in season, so like Vince, Flair, everything like that, all the way up to, say, the new backstage environments, so like things that have, I think, only been shown in the past month or so. So we're going to get through that. Newer people who don't know anything about what's in version 1, don't worry, I will put the video after this one in the video box, so you just click that at the end, and you can watch that and find out everything that's in version 1 that is still included in version 2. Alright, let's get started. Okay, so maybe we'll start with something I haven't shown on Patreon. Now this is an optional extra that was made with pure nostalgia in mind. Nostalgia of the very first SmackDown Shut Your Mouth trailer. Now, in that trailer, obviously as a proof of concept, Yuke showed the draft taking place on SmackDown instead of Raw. This is likely because they didn't have the new Raw set finished in time for the trailer, and the draft taking place on SmackDown was more a placeholder. However, as someone that has huge nostalgia for that trailer, I thought, wouldn't it be cool to have the option where, if you wanted it, you can have the WWF draft take place on SmackDown instead of Raw, just like that original trailer. Now again, this is optional. In the normal version, the draft takes place on the Raw 2001 set. However, for Yuke's nostalgia people like myself, video game nostalgia I suppose, you can also have it take place on SmackDown. I understand it's going to be a very small contingent of people that want this. Maybe no one, maybe just me. And it took a lot of work to actually get this to work. But still, I thought it's super cool and it's fully working. And even though it's not accurate and just super video gamey, I think it's really cool and I'll probably be using this one. Next up, let's talk about improvements to Backstage. While in the last update I added things such as accurate t-shirts, accurate magazines and merchandise, as well as real life vending machines accurate to the time, the next thing on my list was to not only restore some cut content, but also add content of my own that would capture more the essence of the backstage being lived in by the characters that inhabit it. This was a big deal in wrestling in the very late 90s and the early 2000s, as the backstage wasn't just some randomly red or blue lit corridor, it was multiple sets that helped flesh out the characters that sort of lived in the WWF at the time. So first up, the APA door has been restored. Now initially, I was going to place this in the stock room and create an entire APA office in there with the table, beers, and filing cabinet. But I thought it was more accurate to TV to put the door in the downstairs corridor. And then I figured, okay, I can add the table on the side and add the file cabinet up against the wall. Currently, I've just finished the door, so now if you Irish whip an opponent into the door, it will actually break. That's not all, because cut from the original game and now restored is the APA signpost, which has been added to the directions board in the upstairs lobby. So when you're walking past, whether it be season mode or a backstage fight, you'll now know where to go if you need some protection. In addition to that, you can't have an APA office without APA attired Farouk and Bradshaw, who are now there if you want a game of cards, a drink, or an ass whooping. Moving on, another location that has been restored is a lot more for aesthetics and for exhibition over season mode, but something that I really wanted in this game. Commissioner Regals' office is now back, complete with his desk, all contents of the desk, as well as the flagpole. This is also reflected outside in the lobby, where it no longer says VIP room, it says Regal Office. And for those wondering if it affects season mode at all, it really doesn't. Yes, it's signposted as Regal's office, but this is more an aesthetic change for exhibition. When you go to talk to Vince or Flair, they're usually standing by the curtain statically, so you can't see any of the room's contents. So anything that was even in the VIP room, such as the sofas and the table, you can't really see them at all. So it doesn't take away anything from season, but it adds more play value to Exhibition, where you can have another fun location to fight in Regals Office. Also, the game being based around 2001 to 2002, I just feel it fitting that you have the Commissioner's office. Now on the VIP room, initially I wanted to fuse both the VIP room and the Commissioner's office together so you had all the contents in one room. Lately I am wondering, is it a bit too cluttered having all that stuff in one location? And would it be better to separate the VIP room and Regal's office as two separate areas, two separate selectable areas in Exhibition? This is something I really want to do, and I'm more and more considering it seriously as time goes on. You know, I've stared at this game long enough that I can pretty much do anything I want with it. So I'm thinking and leaning more towards making them separate. I'm not sure, I will keep you posted. But so far, I hope you guys like the updates to Backstage. Oh wait, I'm not done with Backstage. While also trying to make this a more living, breathing environment, I've added a variety of brand new weapons to various locations backstage, some even character specific, just to give you that more lived in feel. So for starters, in the boiler room now, you can find the most beautiful thing to ever grace the earth in Moppy. In the stockroom, there'll be a stop sign, and in other areas you can find Steve Blackman's sticks, and even Head, just to give that extra bit of fun. This gives me real No Mercy vibes these days when playing this. Okay, next up, let's talk entrances. Now, with so many changes going on with the WWF at the time, even the name change to WWE, it's no wonder that some of the tag team entrances that I assumed would be there weren't, such as the Dudley Boys, Edge and Christian. But as somebody who absolutely loves those teams, and while I like Edge as a singles competitor, maybe everyone else lesser to that, but I think, you know, as a tag team, Edge and Christian, the Dudleys, Hardys, you know, they were another generation of like the best tag teams in the industry. And it was probably the last time the tag team championships were as valuable as a world championship, because you had so many competitors that were actual legitimate tag teams, not people thrown together with characteristics, personalities, and relationships that you could really be invested in all their stories. So for me, it was very important to make sure that this game had Edge and Christian and the Dudley Boys tag team entrances back in the game. Now, you do lose some of those quirkier entrances like the ballet entrance or the entrance with the car, but it's more than worth it to get these back. So far, Edge and Christian's entrance works 100%, and I'm almost all the way there with the Dudleys, so they'll be previewed on Patreon in a few weeks, just like Edge and Christian was a few weeks ago. They're not the only people with new entrances though. There are some new entrances for single stars that were in SmackDown Just Bring It that didn't make the cut for SmackDown Shut Your Mouth. And again, those replace a lot of those quirky sort of entrances that don't really have any place in the game. I am keeping the Undertaker's bike breaking down and the Booker T entrance gone wrong, because those are just fun. But yeah, the ballet entrance, all that nonsense, it's out of here. Okay, time for another minor thing. And I know some people might be like, why bother with this stuff? Just get to X, Y, or Z. But it really is the little things that sort of make these projects complete. So previously in the game, if you had a ladder match or TLC title match, the championship title that would be hanging above the ring would be the undisputed title. But obviously the title that is in the game in season mode is the WWF title. In this newest version that has been rectified in all arenas, when you play a ladder or TLC match, the championship belt that hangs above the ring will be the WWF title. I know this is a very small detail that you barely see, but in instances you do catch it. I do think it should just be there and be correct. So I hope that's liked. I know some of these details. It's like somebody messaged me being like, why did you bother with the draft screen in WWF New York on the TV monitor? And you know, it's just because that like little extra detail I just think is so valuable. That's the kind of stuff I loved as a teenager. Since we're talking about belts, let's just go over something very, very quickly that I already spoke about in a previous video. I'm still getting questions about it, so I'm just going to answer it again. The Cruiserweight title is gone. It has been renamed and is a different belt. It is the Light Heavyweight Championship, just like WWF TV. And the WCW or World title is an extra belt. So essentially you have an extra mid-card title. The WCW title does not interfere with any WWF Championship storylines. So basically it's just like another mid-card title. The champion can be drafted to either show, and depending on the show you're on, all you need to do is go to Vince or Flair, ask for a title shot, get put in the match, and win the belt. Okay, now let's get to a big thing. There are now 30 extra roster spots on the roster, and all previously non-playable characters are now playable on the roster. So yes, that means Jim Ross, Jerry the King Lawler, Michael Cole, Deborah, and Linda McMahon are all fully playable in exhibition and in season mode, as well as no one on the base game's roster being missing. While we're here, why don't we talk about some new audio? During Ric Flair's entrance, he's now introduced by Howard Finkel as the co-owner of the WWF. And for the July pay-per-view, Jim Ross correctly welcomes you all to Fully Loaded. And for the December pay-per-view, uses the correct audio introduction for Vengeance. Another thing to look forward to is that renders have been changed to match correctly their WWF.com appearance that was used for the majority of 2001 to the early part of 2002. Moving on, even more Titantrons have been added to the Creation Suite. There are now 100 to choose from. Something I always thought was a massive oversight was to not include stuff like extra themes or extra music for stars that weren't necessarily in the game. It sort of hindered the creator wrestler. You know, around that time, I remember I had quite a few friends that never even interacted with creator wrestler because, you know, what was the point if they didn't have their Titantrons or theme music? They had other things in the game, such as ring announcements for stars that weren't there, such as Mike Awesome. But at a time where you can't easily add music or Titantrons, it was kind of useless to a lot of people. So hopefully, even though it's all these years later, you can have even more fun creating wrestlers that may not be in the game, but also being able to swap out Titantrons and theme music for people that had multiple themes over the year and a half or so that this game covers. This next thing is a little further along, but I wanted theatre mode to be as much fun as it was when I bought Just Bring It. Back then, unless you taped it, there was no way to watch old Raws or old SmackDowns, so you really were just going off of your memory for the most time when thinking about old episodes of Raw or SmackDown you watched. So one of the things I watched all the time was the recent Greatest Moments video that's on SmackDown Just Bring It. And I really thought that that needed to be brought back in SmackDown Shut Your Mouth. So there is a brand new movie, WWF's recent Greatest Moments. This begins at WrestleMania 17 with a flashback of Austin beating The Rock, and then ends with Brock Lesnar winning the Undisputed title at SummerSlam 2002. With all kinds of highlights from TLC 3, Kurt Angle's medal ceremony, various match highlights, the invasion, The Rock's return, the winner-take-all match at Survivor Series, all kinds of things, Ric Flair's debut, Triple H's return, Rock versus Hogan, you name it, it's probably there. Now, I won't spoil what the other movies are, I will leave it to you when you actually play this, so there is some new things here and some surprise. But I will say that all movies have been sourced from my personal collection of stuff, so anything you see there is usually the highest quality available on there. So if it's a commercial, a promo clip, or whatever, it's taken directly from my press materials. So yeah, this will be fun. I hope you guys enjoy this little touch. It took ages to even plan this thing out, so hopefully you guys enjoy it. We'll end on a small note and another small detail. In the previous version, every show and backstage had WWF microphones. However, in this version, Raw and SmackDown will have their individual microphones with the Raw and SmackDown logos respectively, and the big four pay-per-views, the Royal Rumble, WrestleMania, SummerSlam, and Survivor Series, will all have their individual logoed microphones, and the other pay-per-views, as well as backstage, will have the WWF microphones. It's another small detail, but it's something that I just agonized over whether I should do it or shouldn't. So I just thought, right, let's do it, see if it's liked, and then we'll see and go from there. If not, I can always revert back to every stage having the WWF microphones if it's not liked. Anyhow, guys, this concludes this small sort of info bracket. Again, if you don't remember what's in the first version, I will cue that video to play after this one. But for now, I will send you back to real life me. Thank you so much for watching, you guys. This was just a short video breakdown of everything that's coming. I hope you like all the updates. The next video will be about Dragon Ball Z Budokai 1, just basically announcing the release of the undub. It's kind of already uploaded, but just need a video to announce it, so that'll be next. Anyways, if you like the video, please hit like, share, subscribe, all that stuff. If you can't support me on Patreon, please do it. Patreon.com/ScottJay. And until next time, take care.